Hi everyone, I'm Stan Mallow. Welcome to Paranormal Yakker. My guest on today's show, who I'll be yakking with, is Sandee Wilhoit, historian, lead tour guide, and resident ghost lady at the Gaslamp Museum and Davis-Horton House in San Diego, California. Sandee Wilhoit, welcome to Paranormal Yakker.
Thank you, Stan. I'm happy to be here.
The Davis-Horton House is the oldest house in San Diego, historic Gaslamp Quarter, which is on the National Registry of Historic Places. What is the historical significance of the Gaslamp Quarter, and perhaps more specifically, the Davis-Horton House itself?
The Davis-Horton House is important because it was the only home in which Alonzo Horton, the founder of modern San Diego, lived. It was also the first county hospital, and it was home for some officers for Army of the Pacific that were here then.
In your capacity as resident ghost lady at the Gaslamp Museum, I was wondering if you can recall how many ghosts you might have seen over the years, and by any chance, do you know who they are?
Yes, and yes, and yes.
Oh, great.
I have seen so many that, I didn't have lost count. A lot of times, because Horton did his business there, you see them just kind of walking through, and you're going, oh. But there are some that do come and stay pretty regularly and have been seen by other people. One of them is the one we call the Lady in Black, because she wears an all-black dress. Now, she really likes to show herself to children, especially when I do the children's tours, historical tours through the house. But I've seen her 3 times. My colleague Jamie has seen her. She mostly likes to stand at the top of the stairs. And when I do my paranormal investigation, and a lot of times when I'm just walking through the house or just sitting at the desk, I turn on my little phone, app, and they just talk all the time. My whole feeling is that everybody that lived in that house liked it so much that they just never left. And, I also get the doctor that came around, Dr. Stockton, when it was a hospital. All kinds of people.
You sort of explained the next question I'm going to ask you, but maybe you go into a little bit more detail. And that is, how did the resident ghosts of the house make themselves known to you?
When I first started working there, which was in 2008, towards the end of 2008, I'm a retired high school teacher. A lot of strange little things started happening, like things were moved. We'd get there in the morning and there would be something right smack in the middle of the floor. And then we'd hear a little bit. And, finally the executive director at the time called me into his office. And he said, well, have these things always happened to you? And I said, well, yes. And he said, well, let's see if we can't figure out what's going on. So he called in some paranormal investigators, and they showed me how to use equipment. And then I got my own equipment, and boy, then everything started happening. They were so happy to talk. I used an old obelisk pen. I have an app on my phone, which they seem to like a lot. If I don't turn it on, they'll say, phone. And I'll say, okay. And I turn it on. I use the divining rod, like Dr. Stockton particularly loves the divining rod. I use the K2 meter, and then my colleague Jamie and I just got this new gadget called an EDI that the children seem to be especially fond of because it has different kinds of blinking lights. And sometimes they talk out loud, and that always gets your attention, let me tell you.
Did any of the ghosts at the house tell you why they decided to remain on the earth plane instead of instead of evolving into the spirit world.
I don't ask. I get the feeling, this inner feeling, that I'm not supposed to talk to them about that. But in the Davis-Horton House, we have one room that's set up like a children's room. And I was just sitting up there with the obelisk, and I had other people there too. And this little girl came through, and her name was Elise. And she said she was 5, and she fell out of a tree. But that's, all she said. But nobody else has said anything. And I was, when I went down not that long ago, I was talking to Dr. Stockton in the parlor. I had my app on, and I said, Dr. Stockton, are you here? And, he said, here. And I said, I'm so sorry I haven't been down here in a while. I said, we're having this pandemic. I said, it's kind of like plague, and we're all supposed to stay home. And he gives me this bored answer. He goes, I know, like Susan Sandy, don't you think I know? So apparently they're very much aware.
It's obvious to me from just speaking with you and what's happening there at the house, at the museum. Obviously, there's an affinity between you and the spirits over there, because they just don't manifest itself for anybody, and they're doing it for you. So I think that's wonderful that's happening.
I think it's because I've worked there longer than anybody. I think they're just used to me or something. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think of them as sheep. They're friends.
You are an historian, and obviously very knowledgeable about the area, and you love what you're doing and what's happening in that era that you are taking people tours on. Did you ever think, or maybe there's something to reincarnation? Maybe you were there at a certain time in history, and this is feeling very comfortable with you, and you're back with old friends and at home, or not? I'm just curious.
I've always believed in reincarnation. I guess, I don't know if I lived there, but I feel very comfortable there. And years and years ago, like this is like in the mid-70s, I did a past life regression, and I had a whole bunch of lives. And I know I had one in that time, but it wasn't, downtown San Diego. I just feel very comfortable there in that time. I wish I could time travel. I mean, even just for a few minutes, just to look out the window.
I know I did some research on the house and the museum, and so many beautiful things there. And the original staircase is intact. That's amazing. The staircase.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm glad you saw the staircase, because at the top of the staircase is where the lady in black likes to stand. And you'll like this, being from Canada. I was doing a tour for some Canadian surgical nurses, and I was standing in one room, facing them, talking, and all of a sudden the lady in black walked across behind them, and one of the women went, "What are you looking at?" I go, "Nothing." I didn't want to say, well, I don't want to say anything, but, a ghost just walked behind you.
From all the psychic phenomena and paranormal activity you and others have experienced, is there one that stands out above all others and literally blows your mind when you think about it?
Well, one of them, it was kind of funny. We figured out, or when the, one of the spirits gave me my nickname. We were sitting there, there were 3 of us in a row, 3 women, and we knew we were talking to George Deo. So, we kind of wanted to know, can you see us? One girl says, George, what color is my hair? The obelisk is black. One girl in the middle said, what color is my hair? Brown. Yeah. And I was the third one. I said, what color is my hair? He goes, cotton top. So that's what he calls me sometimes. It's an old-timey name for a blonde. I like them all. I could tell you a story about each one of them that I like that stands out. George likes to be on TV too. He likes to talk on TV, say his name.
Have you or any visitors captured orbs or other paranormal phenomena on your tours?
Oh, yeah, yeah. We've even gotten photographs, not just an orb. It's kind of fun to watch real orbs go up the stairs, that staircase. But we've gotten actual photographs. As a historian, too, the cool thing is that when they give me a name, I have a resource to look them up. And not always, because there are a lot of people coming and going, especially when the house was a boarding house. But they'll say things, so that you know that they were there at one time.
While the Davis-Horton House had a variety of residents over the years and served different purposes from residential home to hospital, I think its latest reincarnation, serving as a museum in the headquarters of the Gaslamp Quarter Historical Foundation, is probably the most noble one. I think that's important because regretfully in the last number of years, too many historical sites, too much of a history all over the world is just being destroyed to make room for and replaced with, malls, parking lots, and condos.
That just breaks my heart when I see that. All of it at the museum. Jamie and I and our boss, Rhiannon, we are all so committed to that. And we also have a true, historical reenactors. I'm one of them, of course. All the Gaslamp players, where we go around to a lot of different entities. We go to, just anybody that wants us. People will tell us when we're doing our tours, I walked around downtown or I came to dinner down here, but I never really looked at these buildings. And I tell them, and then just look in the door, look up. They have some amazing roof lines. The architecture and the gas lamp is stunning if you will stop and look at it. And we have a fully restored 1880 Victorian storefront where I take my people in. It's a hat shop. Love hats.
I commend you for that. Now, should any of my viewers want to learn more about your tours, your paranormal investigations, the Gaslight Museum, and the Gaslamp Quarter Historical Foundation, how do they go about doing that?
Well, they could go on our website. We're on all the social media. We're on YouTube, on Instagram. They can, go on our website, Gaslamp Quarter Historical Foundation, or you can just type in Gaslamp Museum, and then it'll take you right to where, our homepage, and it'll say, take a tour, or it'll give you some little blurb. You can also email me at swilhoit@gaslampfoundation.org.
Perfect. I wanted to make sure you get as much publicity as you can because what you're involved with is so worthy. And I just wish more people in other areas of the country, of the world, would think the way you do with the people that are around you to preserve a part of history that once it's gone, it's gone. And here, instead of reading about it in a book, they could see it up close and personal.
It's so much fun. Everybody always says, well, I didn't know this and I didn't know that. This is amazing. And, they were amazing back then, how they managed to do everything they did without the different technologies and things we had.
Yes, and if you knew back then how real estate would go up, I'm sure you'd buy up a lot of property.
Listen, I live downtown in right at the edge of the gas lamp. And boy, my real estate has gone up in the last 20 years. I'm like, whoa, I'm not going anywhere. I still have people trying to buy this condo, and I'm going, it isn't for sale.
Sandee Wilhoit, I thank you for being my guest on Paranormal Yacker. I wish you much deserved success with your projects. Hi, everyone. I'm Stan Mallow, the Paranormal Yacker. I hope you enjoyed the interview you just watched. To be sure you don't miss any interviews on my free YouTube channel, all you have to do is press the subscribe button on your screen.